Hello, boys and girls, freaks of the fright, maniacs of the macabre. It is the Horror Heathen for the Horror Heathen YouTube channel and the podcast South Jersey Horror. Today, I have an honored guest. You will know him as Charlie Baker, and he's been in a lot of movies and TV shows. So, a quick bio on this awesome, cool individual. You were born February 27th, 1971, just a few days after me, actually. In Washington, D.C., and raised in Hawaii.
Yeah.
You lived a life most people would write books about. So, in other words, you're a very interesting and unique character. You are the son of an Army colonel whose father was written up in the Los Angeles Times in 1994 by Robin Wright. You traveled the world by the time you were 17. You have lived in England, Israel, and all over the United States.
Yeah.
You went to high school for a short time in Fort Worth. Is that Texas?
Yeah.
Wow. And then you traveled all across the globe to London. And you went to school there. And you earned a vocal scholarship at Tarrant County Junior College and then attended the University of Texas at Arlington. My wife's going to love you, by the way, because she's from Texas.
I know. I know.
Originally a music major, you decided to take up theater as a means to improve your singing career. Shortly thereafter, the acting bug bit you and it took over. You began your professional career on stage, working at some of the best theaters in Dallas and Fort Worth areas. The Circle Theater, the Stage West, the Hit Pocket Theater, and that's where you met and performed with your wife, Rachel.
Yeah.
In 2018, at the Hollywood Boulevard Film Festival, you won the festival award for Best Actor for 11/11. In 2017, at the Pittsburgh Independent Film Festival, you won the PIF Award for the Best Narrative Short for Last Will and Testament. You are best known as playing Skinny Pete, one of the friends of Jesse Pinkerton in Breaking Bad. A musician in real life. In one particular episode, you played the piano.
Yeah.
Showing off your fantastic and phenomenal talents.
Thanks.
You worked in adolescent psychiatry as a recreational therapist, teaching basic theater and improvisation skills for over 6 years.
Yeah.
Very impressive resume.
I tried, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, the awesome, the kick-ass Charlie Baker. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing real good, especially after that intro. It's like, oh wow, look at me. I did do stuff. I was something.
So going from Washington, D.C. to Hawaii, that must have been one hell of a transition for you.
I was like 6 weeks old.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I was born in DC. My mom was sick when I was born. I was actually in an incubator for the first in the hospital, but the rest of the family had already moved to Hawaii, where my dad was stationed while he was still fighting in Vietnam at the time. And so I was in DC in the hospital for 6 weeks, and then once they released me from the hospital, they put me on a plane, took me on a plane to Hawaii to live with the rest of the family. So
that is very weird because I was also in an incubator for 6 weeks. I was a preemie.
Wow.
I was born 34 days early.
Wow. I was born right on time. My mom, it was a scheduled C-section, but she had the German measles when I was born, and so I had a yellow jaundice and was allergic to literally everything. And so yeah, there was not a healthy baby.
Hey, I was
paid off in the end.
According to my father, I was about this big when I was born. So, and that was a C-section baby too. So
yeah. The horrors of parenting, man.
Sometimes you're glad that you don't want to know about it. So.
Yeah.
So in the movie Splinter, a quick synopsis: the people are trapped in an isolated gas station by a voracious splinter parasite that transforms its still living victims into deadly hosts. And this young couple, along with another young couple, some are escaped convicts, must find a way to work together to survive this primal terror. So you were the first character to be introduced. From what I heard, that's a huge honor in the filming industry. And you were the first human victim of the parasite that we know of.
Yeah.
So how were you chosen for this role, or did you have to audition for it?
I did audition for it. I had started off pretty strong once I got with an agent in Texas, and Texas kind of had a film boom for a little bit at that time. And um, I was ready to go, and so I was kind of booking a few really choice what we call day player roles, which just usually considered some of the hardest roles to get, because you have maybe one line to kind of show off your whole character. And I think what helped was I showed up to the
You got the
audition.
hat.
I wore this to my audition. My wife and I had just gone on our first real vacation. It was slash a late honeymoon, graduation, law school graduation present. And she had bought me this hat while we were in Hawaii, visiting Hawaii again. And so I wore it to the audition. And then after the audition, you do two rounds, regular audition for the casting director, and then the casting director brings you in for another time so you can read for the director, Toby Wilkins in this case. And I wore the hat, and then they called me up and said, "Hey, you got the part, and would you mind bringing that hat and see if we can't get clearance to use it?" Because that says a lot about a character right there. And so that took a lot of the work off my shoulders for getting the part, was having the right hat, for the role.
Well, I think the hat fit your character to the T.
Thanks. Thanks. It was nice to have something, of me in the role.
So, I heard you have an interesting story about the monster suit. Having to spin around in a frenzy, was that tough?
Oh, well, see, that was the neat part about it. They actually had three of us wearing the same monster suit for any scene where you saw the monster. Which what I loved was they were determined not to use a lot of CGI for this creature. They didn't want it to be a bunch of CGI animated creature scenes. There was a little bit that they had to do with the hand, I think. But for the creature, what we did, this was the director and the producers. I had nothing to do with coming up with this idea. I was trained as a mime, and when in my very last line at the beginning of the movie, when Rachel Curbs comes into the bathroom and sees me lying on the floor, and I'm covered in the Splinter's makeup, and I'm covered in blood, and my arm is twisted in this way, and it's just kind of cracking, and I reach up and I go, "Kill me." Apparently, the way I was able to move my arms in this kind of disjointed looking kind of way, due to the training I had as a mime, Toby Wilkins, the director, really liked that kind of movement. And so what they did was they had a gymnast who was about my size, and they had a stuntman who was about my size, and then they had me. All of us would travel the same path in that creature's outfit, doing what we specialized. I would do twisting kind of things. The gymnast would do back bends, and the stuntman would fall and roll and do these other and then they literally just took the clips from that, and each one of those, every step was just an edit of a different person in the costume doing their thing. And it was a lot of fast edits and a little bit of speed manipulation, to create this creature. But it was really three of us all working together to create this scene where I would be in the costume, and they'd say, "Well, at this point, the stuntman or the gymnast has done a back walk, a back walkover, and now he's just now standing up. And so you just finish that motion and just keep going and use your hands." And they just kind of took segments from each one of us doing that movement to create the illusion of it being this really disjointed looking monster, walking across the parking lot. And I thought it was a great uh, a great way to do it. The bad part was the costume was fitted for the gymnast and not for me, and we had a different size chest, and it was very tight fitting. And I was able to work for a while, but then at one point I started feeling kind of like dizzy, and I started seeing spots in front of my eyes, and I asked, the medic came up to me and just went, "Hey, are you all right?" And I went, "Well, I'm seeing these spots." And he just kind of panicked and went, "Okay, take it off now." And I wasn't getting enough oxygen, which was fine when we were just sitting around, waiting to shoot. But once I started moving around a lot, I was not getting enough oxygen to continue. And so they had to take me out of the costume, which took 4 hours to get into that creature makeup. And then normally it took a couple of hours to get out. They had to get it out in like 45 minutes. An ambulance had to come. They had to give me some oxygen. Ended up not having to go to the hospital, thank goodness. But it was a really close call with that. But that was I wasn't necessarily hired to be the creature. That was just kind of the way it went. Hey, you could also do this, and we could add that extra element to this creature's movement. And so it was fun to be a part of.
That is awesome. It sounds like you had fun. So,
It was a blast.
and not a lot of actors say they had fun on set portraying a monster creature kind of role. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone should experience that kind of, if you want to be an actor, I think you should experience that kind of the full on prosthetic makeup thing, because some really great roles have happened because of that stuff. And it's not something you can just, do and be like, "Oh yeah, that's easy." It's like it's something I've done enough times that I'm like, "Ah, no, I don't really want to anymore." Um,
like, I'm
it's less,
done.
yeah, yeah. It's like, I mean, if I have to, yeah, but like, can we just try and avoid it if we can? Because it's a tough gig, but I think everyone should do it once so you know that it's not easy at all. And it's not. It really kind of makes you see, helps people see, like, being an actor is not as fun and glamorous as everyone thinks it is, and it's definitely not as easy as everyone thinks it is. And doing stuff like that is really kind of hits the nail on the head. Um, so
But you did it, and you did obviously a phenomenal job
oh,
because
thanks.
the movie got such high ratings, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
just all around. It's a great movie. That even though you get killed in the end, we don't see you again. We get killed in the beginning, and we don't see you again to the end. In my opinion, that's no way for a person to go.
yeah. That was like getting killed by a raccoon was, the real kind of low point of Blake Sherman's Junior's life, I think. Um,
It
but
was it really a raccoon? I couldn't tell.
well, I mean, that was the what the puppet that they used in the movie. It was a raccoon puppet that it had already been, gone through some of the transformation process with the Splinter creature. And so, but it, it was funny because there were times when it was just a puppet on a stick being waved in front of my face, and it's really hard to look scared of that, just
Right?
this raccoon. It looked like roadkill on a stick, because they had done so much to make it look like a horrifying little raccoon. But then there were other times when it was just on somebody's hand and he was just like, yeah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh no. Um,
I'm scared. I'm scared.
yeah, yeah. It was fun though. Yeah, I love doing stuff like that. Which is why it was such a hard thing to audition for, because there was no real like human interaction. It was just like yelling at some spot on the wall for the audition. Just like find a spot on the wall and pretend like it's a raccoon and just yell at it, tell it to go away. Um, so yeah, it was just this little mangy raccoon puppet. Spoiler alert, sorry.
I can't imagine that. I would laugh too hard. So,
It took some work, Like I say, acting's not easy.
so did you watch the movie after it was released?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was your thoughts about the movie? I mean,
First, I'm not a big horror movie fan, and part of that is, like you said in my bio, I lived in Israel when I was a kid, and that was in the middle of a war. I've seen some horror, and I'm not a big fan of seeing blood and guts. But you know, on a set with a bucket full of fake blood poured on your head, and it's kind of fun to play. I don't watch a lot of them, but I watched Splinter, and I was really impressed with the strength of the story that it had, the way it held you in and literally just locked in on one location almost the entire movie. um, it had some great lines. Cutting off his hand. It's been so long since I've seen it. I should have watched it recently just so I could like remember what my favorite parts were. But just they're about to cut off Shea Wiggum's hand. And went, don't worry, we're going to cut off your hand. And it was just like this perfect uh, perfect delivery. It was a great cast. Everything about it. I mean, there was. I don't remember having any moments where I was like, "Oh man, that's cheesy," which is something you have a lot of in horror films, and I was just really proud to be a part of that. Um, so yeah,
I remember the first time I watched it is when they cut the guy's arm with the box cutter,
right.
and they get the rest with the cinder block. I was like, oh God, no, please don't. Oh God, no.
Yeah, it's one of those that you don't want to watch, but you're laughing so hard at the thought of it while it's happening.
And I've been watching horror movies for 20 plus years, and nothing really freaks me out or creeps me out except that part did.
Right,
And I was like, I can't watch this, but I don't want to look away.
right. Right. And a movie that can do that, that's something to be proud of, I think. I Yeah, it had such a great crew. The cinematographer, Nelson Cragg, was he worked on Breaking Bad also. He's directing stuff now that's just amazing, stuff. And like the whole crew was like that. Ian Shore, who was one of the writers, he wrote a couple of shows now that I've worked on since then. And so, yeah, it was a really good group to work with, um, and yeah, I had a lot of fun. Like I say, not being a big horror fan, I do have fun being in some horror movies because it's always a great crew, uh, and they're always just ready to party and just like have fun with it, and they know they don't take it nearly as seriously. They don't take themselves as seriously or the business. It's you take your job seriously, but don't take the movie seriously.
Right,
That's
right, right.
like, you know. So
So,
we're
and
not
throughout the entire
really.
movie, is that actually you on the hood of the Jeep the entire time, or is that a mannequin?
That's a mannequin,
Okay.
which was really cool because they used my body form to make the mannequin. So it was looking at like walking in and seeing a lifelike me lying there dead on the hood of a car was just kind of creepy and amazing all at the same time. Like, oh, that's what I'm gonna look like when I finally go.
I
Hopefully not on the hood of a car, but you never know.
was like, this is not an intervention, right, guys? Because I was watching it last night, and I was like, that can't be him. That'd be so uncomfortable to lay on a hood for that long.
Yeah.
So there has to be a mannequin. So
Yeah, they had me. I think they had me like fall down on the hood in the position that they were going to have the mannequin, so that they had something to reference. I'm not sure if they actually used that shot or not. Um, but the more you talk about the hood, like I remember the mannequin. I have pictures of the mannequin just going, "Oh, look, that's gruesome. That's me." Um, but like, it was 14, 15 years ago, I guess 15 years ago, because my daughter's 15 and she was just about to show up. Um, and so, yeah, I barely have a lot of memories. I have some great memories of it, but it's like not the whole thing. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they had me hit the hood at one point, but I wasn't there the whole time. No, that was definitely a mannequin.
And that would have sucked. It was like you paid extra for doing this, right? So-
Right? Which I did get paid extra to play the creature, so that was
oh, that's cool.
I got several more days on my contract to stay on as the creature than I was supposed to get originally, and it almost like tripled what I was gonna make originally for that. It was a low budget film, and I was a local small time actor at the time, so it wasn't a huge paycheck, but it was a really pretty neat. Uh, Pretty neat bonus for what I was gonna get when I signed on, going, yeah, this is awesome. So uh, just became that much more awesome. Yeah.
And just they said your character had the pardon my French, the shittiest death in the entire movie. So like there's no dignity in that death whatsoever. So,
Right, right.
so okay, so you have two upcoming projects. Two movies. One is that You Can't Win, that's a drama, and another called Soul Jumpers. It's a sci-fi. And
Yeah,
I'm particularly interested in Soul Jumpers, where your character's name is Redneck Rodney. I gotta
yeah.
know.
That one's still in development. Um, and they're hopefully going to get the funding for it. It was a fun script. I read it once when they asked me, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this?" And I read through the script. I know another actor who's going to be playing one of my compadres in this, and um, he's a really good friend of mine, and he doesn't have nearly the resume he should have, and I love working with him, and this is the first time I've actually been able to get a chance to work with him on this kind of level, and so that kind of helped spur my desire to play this role. But he is a very redneck character. Um,
It's not Larry the Cable Guy, is it?
I don't think so. I haven't really delved into a lot of that because this is one of those like, well, it's like if we can get to the next stage, we'll make a movie kind of in development project. So I'm hoping it'll get picked up because it seemed like it was going to be a really fun project. But I honestly, up until you mentioned it, I almost forgot about it because I'm waiting for them to get the final okay to start going. Um, and You Can't Win, I filmed that several years ago, and that's been in development for many years, and we're still waiting to see what's going on with that. It'll be an amazing project if it does come out, and when and if it does come out. But I don't know much of anything about any of that other than that. I do have a couple of TV projects coming, but I'm only allowed to talk about one of them, which is Mayor of Kingstown, which is on Paramount Plus, which I don't even know when next season's coming out, but I'll have a small role in that next season. And that's going to be fun.
You were also in another one of my favorite TV shows, The Blacklist.
Yeah,
So that you didn't last very long on that. You only did 5 episodes, I think.
I did not. I was hoping for a little bit more. That was a crazy time because I just finished shooting Breaking Bad when I started Blacklist, and kind of the finale of Breaking Bad and the premiere of Blacklist all happened all within the same like month. And I was just kind of like, wow, this is crazy. But it's shot in New York City, and I live in Los Angeles. And I had a 1-year-old baby when I moved to Los Angeles, and this is at the same time. I had just moved to Los Angeles from Fort Worth, Texas. Brought a family of 4 with me, and we're just barely starting up in LA trying to figure it out. And suddenly I get my first big job, and it shoots in New York City, and so I have to fly to New York City every 10 days to shoot for a day or two. And it was pretty crazy. I was not prepared for that kind of that kind of commute to work, you know. But it was a fun show, and James Spader is an amazing person. So I had, you know, a good time, great experience. But I'm kind of glad it didn't last much longer than it did.
So I have a favor to ask you,
Okay,
and
we'll
you don't
see.
have nothing bad. So,
I
because
fall for that again.
I was wondering if you could give me a quick line from Breaking Bad as Skinny Pete.
Yo, man, I'm slinging mad volume and fat stacking Benjis. You know what I'm saying? I can't be all about like spelling and shit.
That is awesome. I love it. Thank you so much.
Oh,
That is
that
great.
was that line is such a fun. It took me so long to learn how to say that line because I am normally not really that a skinny Pete type,
Yeah.
and I wasn't prepared to play a skinny Pete type. And then they, you know, it kind of started as one episode, just one of those day player, you know, just a couple of lines and you're gone kind of things. And so I just made up a quick character. And then they go, "Hey, we're gonna have you come back." And I'm like, "What? Come back? I don't know how to." And so every time I came back, I would get new dialogue and new phrases that he, you know, he needs to seem like, "Hey, you're really good at handling this kind of stuff." And they gave me that line, and man, oh, it was. I don't know if you remember the Delta airline commercials where they were trying to sound hip. Um, uh, but it was just this uber white guy trying to do hip hop kind of, and that was a lot. It was like, yo, man, I'm slinging mad volume and fat stacking Benjis. You know what I'm saying? I can't be all about like spelling and shit. Like, what does this mean? And I just kind of have to sit there and go through it one line at a time, like I'm translating for another language. Like it was fun. I finally figured it out. And now yeah, you can give me some Skinny Pete lines, and I'd be like all over that. But man, first starting out, it was really interesting journey.
But your character took off so well in that show. It was
Yeah,
great. And so,
thanks, man. Thanks. I had a blast. It was, like I'll go on about playing that guy all the time too. But Splinter was fun. That was a good. I had just started on Breaking Bad at the time Splinter was shooting, and I was, you know, on top of the world, like, you know, being on. I was just on this one show, and I thought that was, you know, again, every time I did an episode of Breaking Bad, I thought it was the last episode I was going to do. And so like, oh, I guess I'm done. I won't be coming back. And then they call me back again and go, oh, we got another episode. I'm like, whoa, what? Um, and so it was a neat little kind of. Splinter was a great thing to do in between. I shot another really good horror film at the same time called Fright Flick, which it came out later, but we were actually shooting them concurrently. Um, and so it's a recommendation if you can. I don't know where it is, but if you can find it, it's called Fright Flick. It's
I'm gonna write that down.
yeah. It, really like low, if you're really into like the really like kind of John Waters kind of um
I'm definitely check it out.
sort of
I'm all
thing.
about independent horror and low budget films because they seem to be the best. So
It's amazingly like for being a, a C-rated movie and a B-rated movie, like it's a movie inside a movie kind of film. Um, and it's another one of those where I was really surprised by how strong the plot was, despite all the low budget effects and somewhat low budget actors. And this, they both, Splinter had way better like high caliber actors. um for being the kind of movie it was, it had such a strong plot and such a great story behind it that it kind of made it a way better movie than it should have been. You know what I mean? And so yeah, if you get a chance, I play a drag queen in the
oh,
movie.
okay.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, I understand what you're saying because a few days ago I interviewed Jill Larson. I don't know if you know who she is, but she was in the movie Taking a Deborah Logan. and
Okay.
she played Deborah Logan, the one that got possessed. And
Wow.
that's an independent film movie as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was shot so well, and I thought it was made professionally, but it wasn't. It was low budget. Not all these actors I've never seen or heard of before. So yeah, it was just, let's say, independent film is making the comeback, and I love it. So
Yeah, it should. I mean, that's where you get your best. It's where you get your best artists, I think, is the people who are having to be creative and not just throw money at a problem, um, or they have to come up with solutions. But you know, uh, you see it throughout the history of film. Some of the best films and some of the biggest filmmakers now are the guys who started that way, and like innovated techniques and styles, and yeah, so more power to them.
all right, so that's all I have. Thank you
Right
so
on,
much for
man.
joining me. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man.
And I'm gonna check out your other movies when if they ever come out.
Yeah,
I'm definitely
yeah,
gonna check out Fright Flick.
yeah.
So,
It's a fun film. Now, be warned, it starts off, like I said, it's a low budget film within a low budget film. It's a low, yeah, low budget film within a low budget film. And it starts off with the low budget film part, and so it starts off and you're like, oh my god, this is really bad, and you have to give it a few minutes before you realize that that's the film they're making, that the cast of the film you're watching is actually making. You know what I mean? It's a Inception kind of thing. So,
well, it's been a complete honor talking to you. Thank you so
dude,
much.
man, hey,
You're
thanks for
like,
having me.
like I said, you're a very talented actor,
Oh,
and I
thanks.
really appreciate your time taking the time out talking to me about your movie Splinter.
Glad to.
And I'm gonna promote the hell out of the two movies that are in development and Fright Flick, just
Right
because.
on. Right on. Thank you very much, man. You take care of yourself.
All right, I wish you the best in your career, and
Oh, thank you.
hope you get a lot more awards for whatever roles you play in the future. So,
I just do it for the money, not the awards.
an honest actor, all right.
Got to pay the bills, man. I got
Right,
kids to
I get it.
feed. I got kids to feed. But yeah, cool talking to you, man. I hope this goes well.
I appreciate it, and yeah, have a good evening in over there in the West Coast. I think you're, yeah.
Yeah, we're still early here, so
Okay.
I got
All right.
dishes to wash.
Oh my good dishes. The honeydew list.
Yeah. Yeah. She has a real job, so the least I could do is like in between playing pretend, help out around the house.
All right, Charlie. Thank you so much,
No problem,
and I
man.
bid you adieu. And thanks a lot for talking to me. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
glad
All
to.
right.
Glad
All
to.
right.
Have
Take
a great
care.
one. Bye.